What's up, everybody? My name is Daniel Javor, and today I'll be talking about 5 ways to get free ecom conversions without paying for ads. And I'm actually super excited about this presentation, but before that, a little bit about myself. So James and myself, we have built several businesses and brands together in the past, and about a year and a half or 2 years ago, I actually decided to go full force into SEO. And the reason why is because I'm very passionate about it, and I think it's a great way to build long-term, sustainable, stable online businesses based on very quality work and quality content. But having said that, my background is paid ads. I started advertising almost a decade ago. I know the ins and outs of running campaigns and running ads and building landing pages and all that. So I think I have a really good insight now, because now that I know SEO in depth, I can see a lot of the weak points that currently a lot of you guys do when you run paid ecom, and there's a lot of opportunity there. And I basically try to compile a very actionable list of 5 ways and 5 little, let's call them hacks, that you can implement today in your ecom stores that will almost immediately give you better results and traffic and all of that very, very cheap. So in order to do that, I just hit up Nick and I said, hey, can you send me over an ecom store that I can use as an example? Because I don't want to now cover all of this, let's say, in theory. Like I'm kind of like sick of all those in theory presentations. I just wanted to really get a fresh set of eyes, just get a fresh store, look at it, go through it. I literally set up the presentation half an hour ago, and then kind of analyze it, and then you can replicate the same thing with your ecom store and implement all those things for pretty much and hopefully the same benefits. So this is what he sent to me. It's an eyewear brand. That's kind of like what I understood at the point that he sent it to me. And apparently it's heavily leveraged by paid advertising. And I kind of tried to take a deeper look, and I came up with 5 great ways on how to improve it. So number 1 is leverage your domain authority and build a content marketing strategy on top of your existing domain authority. So a lot of people might know what domain authority is in terms of SEO, but for the people that don't know, so Google looks at your domain authority in terms of who links back to your page. So if, for example, Forbes.com links to your page, then they would assume that, Forbes.com has somewhat of a strict editorial team, so they probably did their due diligence. They don't just link to anyone. So you probably must know what you're talking about. So therefore, we give you more authority. So now if you collect a few of those backlinks, the more backlinks you collect, and more importantly, the more powerful or the more authoritative the publishers are that link back to you, the better eyes Google sees you and increases your authority for your domain, and you become basically more important in the eyes of Google. So this is a tool I use. It's called Ahrefs. There are other tools that do kind of something similar, the same. For example, SEMrush is another one. And it's an analytics a tool that will show you how many backlinks you have, and it kind of measures your domain authority with their own algorithm and tells you how high your domain authority might be. So for this specific brand, it actually has a domain authority for 65, which is actually very, very high. And it has over 1,000 referring domains and over 14,000 backlinks. And the brand is already ranking for 28,000 keywords. So I'm pretty sure that it has no active SEO strategy ever done on this page. And that's interesting, right? Like, why do you think without any SEO being done on this, how come it already ranks so high? And this is exactly what's so powerful. Paid advertising actually gets your brand a lot of eyeballs. So when you advertise all over the place, everybody sees it, including maybe some publishers see it, and then they get interested in your brand. They might publish a piece about it. They maybe write about it. There's going to be people leaving reviews about your product, or writing reviews about your product, testing it, sharing their experiences, all that stuff. So the longer you're in the business, the more sales you do, the more you actually run paid ads, the more eyeballs you get on your brand, the more and more your authority grows. So that's actually a huge asset. And a lot of marketers are not really aware of that the stores that they have already has a huge amount of authority, and you can leverage that, right? And I will exactly show you how. So what I did next is I actually looked at the organic keywords the brand is already ranking for. And what I could quickly see here is that blue light glasses is ranking it's getting a lot of traction, a lot of traffic. So apart from the own brand name, which doesn't really count, right? Blue light glasses by far got the most amount of traffic. And then when you look here, I looked at the top pages. So 41% of the traffic comes direct traffic from the actual main keyword for the brand keyword. And then 22% is blue light glasses. So if you ignore the 41 and you kind of like and look at it in a different way and adjust the ratios, the far majority or the highest or the lion's share of the traffic comes from blue light blocking glasses. So from that, we can understand that in the eyes of Google, Google considers you an expert when it comes to blue light blocking glasses because it decided to rank you very high for blue light blocking glasses. So that would be like one of, we call them silos, or one of the sub niches that you want to focus on because you already established that Google likes that. Google says you are an expert there. So now you want to like elaborate on that, right? So now what you should do is you should write pieces and content about blue light blocking glasses because when you start publishing those, Google says, well, he's an expert in blue light blocking glasses, so let's rank him. Let's rank him high, right? So you're going to come up with some creative ways about generating content about that topic. So what you're going to do is you're going to run keyword research. You're going to go into the keyword explorer. You put in blue light blocking glasses. And then the best way to find really the juicy and high intent keywords is you're going to add in some modifiers. For example, best or review or some question modifiers like where, right? And then you're going to filter that. And now what you're going to get is actually very high buying intent, somewhat long tail keywords that you can very easily rank for that also going to generate a lot of sales for you. So for example, best blue light blocking glasses. It's a great keyword because the buying intent on this keyword is insanely high. As some of you probably run some AdWords and PPC advertising, you guys know that those keywords you're willing to bid a lot more in terms of CPC because you know that they convert much higher than something more general, right? So that's a really nice long tail one. Or what are the benefits of blue light glasses, right? So that's something that somebody that is probably interested in getting one, but he wants to first kind of understand what they're good for and what the benefits are, and if it's worth the money that he's going to spend on them. So I just went ahead and just Googled some of those keywords. What do blue light glasses do, for example, is one. So what we can see here is, so apart from this featured snippet, which I'm going to get into in a bit later, WebMD is currently ranking first, and Good Housekeeping is ranking second. So you might think, WebMD, that's a huge publisher, tons of authority, huge company, like how can I outrank them? And I say the chances of you outranking them are actually quite high. And here's why. Because Google looks at WebMD and says, well, WebMD is in the medical field has very, very high authority. And glasses are somewhat part of the medical field, but their authority is spread very, very broad. Your authority is spread very, very niche. So it says, okay, while WebMD probably knows what they're talking about, but when it comes to blue light glasses, you're the expert. So if you would write a piece about blue light glasses, or what do blue light glasses do, the chances of you ranking almost immediately higher than WebMD are quite high in my eyes. That's the first reason. The second reason, which is quite astonishing, is if you look at the actual page title and compare it to the query, the intent is completely off, right? So the user is asking here, what do blue light glasses do? And WebMD tells you, blue light glasses helpful or just hype? Well, we just ask what they do, how they work, right? We didn't ask if they're a hype or not. We wanted to know how they technically work. So they're not even hitting the search intent. So that's another reason why I think that actually publishing a piece and exactly writing a good piece of content explaining what they do, a well-written piece of content, preferably an authority in the space writing it even, to create an additional layer of authority, will do very, very well. Now here, for example, what are blue light glasses, right? So again, you got WebMD. As you can see, it ranks for the same article. Again, it's two completely different types of intent. But the reason Google is giving that answer is because it literally has no inventory. It doesn't have better inventory that matches that intent in a better way. So it just releases and shows you the thing that's kind of like the closest or the most relevant. So it's very, very easy to swoop in and steal a lot of volume here from that keyword and outrank WebMD and Good Housekeeping there. Here, that's a little bit different because here the intent is different, right? So how to test blue light glasses that might be a little bit different because you do have already authority, but then there's bluebox.com. Honestly, I don't know what bluebox.com is, but it seems like they have something to do with blue light. We need to Google it to check it out, but maybe they are more qualified to answer that question. Maybe that piece they wrote is very in depth, and then maybe it's not worth it. Maybe it's worth the try because how much does it cost you to write a piece of content? $150, $200, $300 if you want to write something really, really amazing. Maybe it's worth it testing, or maybe it's enough that you're just going to be in the first page in the top 3 or 4 results. But it's definitely something, to check out and give a try. But here the opportunity is less than in those here. Those opportunities are actually really, really high. I was almost surprised when I looked them, and I would actually love Nick to try that or have his buddy try it and report back to us if it worked or not. It would be really interesting and great to see. Here's another thing. I just Googled blue light glasses and I looked at the ads, and I saw a lot of people running ads on it. That's also a great way of establishing which keywords actually work well. So you might find some interesting long tail keywords in your discovery campaigns in AdWords. And then the ones that work well, you can write organic pieces about that. And then you can almost turn off the ads because the chances are you have your own in-house data, what works. And if it's a long tail one and you already have authority, you might, rank really high there. And then you save all the ad spend on this. So even if you're paying here, let's say even like $1 a click, after 100 clicks on a piece of content costs $100, you're going to already be break even, and you're going to just write a free roll for the future. So the next little tip would be how to gain backlinks and sales via affiliate programs. And I think most of you guys, including me, we all started out as affiliates, and then we somewhat graduated, and now we have our own brands and our own offers, which is great. It's definitely a step into the right direction because we own a bigger piece now of the supply chain, which is the right move business-wise. But it doesn't mean that we cannot still take advantage of affiliate programs or of affiliation in general. And I think now is actually a much bigger opportunity than it ever was to take advantage of that. And here's why. So Amazon on the 15th of April, of the time of that recording, that's a month and a half ago, they actually really cut back significantly on their commission rates. And that was obviously due to COVID, but definitely also several other reasons. Many people say they kind of used the COVID situation as an excuse to do that move, but some of those categories got really, really cut back very, very extremely. So health and personal care, for example, here, as you can see, from 5% commission to 1% commission. Outdoors and tools got cut by 50% almost. So there's huge reductions. And a lot of publishers, including me, I own a big portfolio of many different publishers. For us, it was very, very bad. We lost a lot of revenue because of it. And obviously, not only that, everybody is very, very upset at Amazon and their business practice and how they treat us as partners, that we have been loyal partners for a long time. But, that's the industry and that's the game. So what's happening now throughout the whole industry is a lot of people have enough of Amazon, and they try to actually pivot and establish long-term relationships with direct brands and direct programs to and establish those partnerships for the long term and hopefully make more commission. Because especially the brands that run on paid advertising, your margins are very big because you need to facilitate for ad spend. So your gross margins are very big there. So in that sense, you can also pay much more competitively your commission rates. You can offer much better rates than Amazon can, even before the commission cuts. But before that, publishers were a little bit comfortable. They wanted to stick with Amazon, but now everything is different. So if you can, for example, if you're in the outdoor space, so the commission rates got cut from 5.5 to 3, and you can offer 6, 7, and I think you guys can probably offer 10 to 15% easily. It's going to be a huge edge, and it's going to be a big reason for publishers to switch over. So what I would do is I would just create an affiliate program and then have VAs reach out to all those publishers that are currently linking to similar products in your space, but they're linking to Amazon, and say, hey, like I know your rates got cut. We can offer you 3-4 times the commission if you link to us. So what will happen and that will do is not only will you make basically free money, because we know that affiliate commissions are just on a sales basis. So there's literally no risk involved. You only pay commission when you sell. So it's risk-free profit and essentially free money. But you will also gain backlinks. So if you can convince, let's say, a cnet.com to link back to your product, and if you have a legit and well-known product, you will gain a very powerful backlink, and then everything that I taught you in the first strategy will benefit from that as well indirectly, and all your rankings will increase. But now you might say, well, setting up a whole affiliate program, like that sounds like a big hassle. That sounds exhausting, right? But there are tools, maybe some of you guys know them, Reversion, for example. What they do is they're specialized for Shopify, and it's very easy. They integrate with Shopify, and you can basically create an affiliate program across your whole Shopify store very, very easily. And you already have a CRM for that then, and you can easily hand out those links to those publishers. And you still have to manage those affiliates, right? So if that's too much, a buddy of mine owns affiliatemanager.com. If you want, I can introduce you, and he can give you a quote, and then it's essentially hands-off affiliate management. Or you can just hire an affiliate manager of Upwork. That should be pretty affordable way of doing that. Okay, so the next one is restructure your site architecture. So this might get a little bit technical. So as I explained you before, the authority gets determined by backlinks that you get. So to continue our example from the beginning, let's say Forbes.com links to your homepage. Now your homepage just increased in authority, let's say 5 points, whatever that might mean. Now you have within your site structure the possibility to continue to pass on part of that authority to other pages. So let me show you that diagram, for example. So let's say this is your homepage or your category page or whatever page you want it to be. And this will be your pillar page. So the authority comes here. The backlink from Forbes got to this page. Now, that obviously increased in rankings, hopefully. And now you want some of the smaller pages to kind of benefit from that as well. So you can then interlink and send a link from the pillar page to one of your child pages, and that will also benefit from rankings. So what do I mean with that in a practical example? Let's look, for example, at those keywords that we picked here. Best blue light blocking glasses. That's super high intent. That's a super important keyword. So maybe you got a link to your category page or to your homepage. Now, if you would interlink your category page to best blue light blocking glasses, it would benefit from the backlink that Forbes gave you to your other page, and you kind of like pass that on to that page. So why is that so important? Because you know your metrics, you know your conversion rates for each keywords. So you can prioritize and engineer it any way you want, and you can increase the authority for the keywords that actually matter to you most, even if they might be a little bit less in volume, but they give you the best performance. So you can actually get a backlink to one page and then maneuver that into another page that is actually more important to you. Okay, so the fourth point is content score optimization. Now, initially we started out talking about off-page SEO, which is backlinking, and now we transition slowly into interlinking, and now we're talking more about the content itself, so that's considered on-page SEO. Now, initially, Google heavily relied on backlinking signals to determine how it will rank your site and how it will rank your keyword and your page. But nowadays, the AI got so advanced and is already so sophisticated that it can actually get a very good understanding about not only what you're writing about, but how well you're writing about it. It can analyze on, for example, we call it topical depth. How well in depth are you covering that piece of content, right? Are you really covering it from all aspects? Are you really satisfying user intent with the piece of content that you're writing? So there are several tools out there that can kind of help you achieve that. And I tested a lot. There's one tool in specifically that is, I think, far ahead of the earth. It's really amazing. It's called Market Muse. The person who created it, the co-founder, Jeff Coyle, shout out to him. He's just a genius, I think. What they have done is essentially they have reverse engineered kind of the Google algorithm, and they basically giving you a guideline on how to cover the content and what pieces or what aspects of the content to cover. So if you kind of take that as a template, you will outdo your competition. It's a very expensive tool. There are tools that are cheap, but just not as good. It's up to you to decide. I like to use that tool, and I'm willing to pay the money for it simply because that little extra that I'm paying, I'm making it back exponentially, and by my results it is getting me. Okay, like the other tools might get the job done, but it just gives me an additional edge, and it's worth the extra money that I'm spending on. So if you look, for example, that's a screenshot out of the tool. If you want to get more information about it, just hit me up. Or if you want me to intro you to Jeff, feel free to do the same. So what I did here, for example, is I put in best blue lights. Okay, best blue light blocking glasses, and I just assumed I'm now the Forbes article. If we look at here at all the publishers that are ranking for that, so we got New York Mag first, Good Housekeeping second, Very Well Health third, and then Forbes is fourth, and so on and so on. So each one got a score depending on how well they covered all the keywords that they should have covered, and they got a score for it. So as you can see, New York Mag got a 28, Good Housekeeping got a 26, Very Well Wealth got a 24, Forbes got a 26. All right. So here are all the keywords that they should have covered, and if they covered it or not. Red is they didn't cover them, and green is they covered them, and so on and so on. Now, this is how the article should have been structured. All right. Oh no, sorry, that's not it. There. So those are all the keywords. I mean, it keeps on going. It gives you a distribution that you currently have of each of the keywords and how much you should have. For example, this article does not have best blue light blocking glasses in it, but we want to rank for best blue light blocking glasses, so it's very important that you want to include this keyword. If you would increase at that keyword, your chances of actually ranking for it is going to increase a lot. So now, if you're talking about that topic, you should also obviously talk, let's say, about eye strain, because now that I know a little bit more about blue light blocking glasses, is people use them because they want to reduce their eye strain. You want to talk about lens. You want to talk about computer glasses because many people use them for, computer work. Again, this article didn't use that keyword at all. And let's see, for prescription glasses, I guess a lot of people want to know if they can get those glasses with prescriptions. So all of those things are important to cover. So it's not keyword stuffing per se. It really isn't. It's a guideline on how to better write a piece of content. So if you cover all those things, you're actually satisfying user intent more, because again, if somebody's looking for the best blue light blocking glasses, they want to know how well does it affect your eye strain, and do they have prescription glasses, and all those things. So here up top, you see a score. So that's your target score should be a 39, because if you look at your competition, 39 is the highest score, right? And this is your suggested word count. So right now you're only at 1,000. So if you go over 2,000, I assume you would have a higher word count than your competitors. So if you will have the best content score in Google's eyes, you will have covered the topic the most in depth. And if you have the highest word count, you actually wrote more about that topic than your competitors. And now that intertwined with your authority in that field will increase your chances significantly to rank first for that topic. So actually, what you can do is they have a feature called inventory, where they crawl your whole page. They assess your content score for each. They compare it to your competitions, and they actually list and prioritize all of your inventory, all of your content inventory, and by opportunity score. So they say which are the lowest hanging fruit. Where do you just have to do a few adjustments to actually gain the most results. So it's a great way of prioritizing work and getting the most out of the tool very, very quickly. And by the way, this is the editor. So that's actually, I didn't want to log in live with it because you would see, all my other pages. But in here, you can actually live adjust it and edit it, and you will see that score go up and down, and it will kind of like suggest you which keywords where to enter. It's a very, very user-friendly and great tool. All right, so last but not least, how to snatch a featured snippet for quick rankings. I really love that because it's a great way to kind of get really quick gains, and you can have a very analytic approach like most of your paid ads guy have to actually achieve that. So the featured snippet is basically that here, and I started mentioning it above in the first step. And Google changed their search result layout out a little bit. So sometimes when it thinks that it can satisfy query intent with a very, short definition, instead of having the user go into article and actually look for the answer, it tries to do so. So that's a good example of that. And it actually happens more and more and more. So for example, if you would Google how many days are there in a year, they wouldn't want you now to go into each of the articles and try to like get a whole long piece of content about how the earth revolves around the sun or whatnot, and why there are 365 days in a year. Like you just want to know how many days there are in a year, so they just serve it to you up there, right? So then trying to do the same thing with this. So they want to, because the whole idea behind Google is we want to give the user what he wants in the best and effective way, in the most qualitative way as possible. So sometimes they pull an article from the first page, sometimes often actually from the bottom of the first page, and pull it up here and present it to you in the featured snippet. Now, again, those are most of the times not the most authoritative or most relevant articles. They just have the definition that satisfies query intent the best. So a great way, if you're not ranking first and you're just ranking on the first page, is to actually go and try to reverse engineer that definition and make it better. And it actually is often the case, and it works even better if you see that the publishing date is a little bit older. So this one is actually pretty recent, in March, but very often you find featured snippets from 2019 or 2018. So all you have to do is, we can see water blue light glasses. So you do an H2 saying water blue light glasses, and then you just kind of like rewrite that definition in a better, more straightforward way, and you structure it within your article, like right up the top. Again, H2 and one short description. Even go as far as measure the amount of characters that are within that box, and try to not go over it, because again, Google tries to find like a very easy way to serve that. So then you can experiment and see if you get to the featured snippet. Now, kind of annoying because you can test out some ways and then it takes probably like a day or two to see the results. So there's actually a really cool trick to do that. So to get around that. So you can go into Google Search Console and you can request a page for re-indexing, and that will actually give you immediate results. So you can try out a certain variation which you think would work to get you up there, then submit that in Google Search Console for re-indexing, refresh the page, and then just see if you're in there, if you made it up there. And if you didn't, then you go back and you try something else. You submit it for re-index. You can try it until you get up in the featured snippet. And now you got to get a huge amount of traffic bump, especially if you're at the bottom of the first page. Now, just keep in mind that the Google Search Console limits that. I believe it's 4 a week. So you can only reindex 4 times a week for each piece of content. But you have a lot of pieces of content, so you can do a lot of experiments and test out some cool stuff. So that will give you actually a very quick way to get up there and a big bump, especially for those high search intent keywords. I see very often actually the best keyword, like best classes. They have different formats of those featured snippets. Sometimes they got like tables or bullet points. Bullet points always work really, really well. So look for those as well and try to kind of like rearrange them. Always look up the query, look at the format, what kind of featured snippet it is, and try to adjust your content to it. Force the re-indexing a few times until you get it, and that actually will work really, really good. Well, that's it. I hope that actually helped. Now go make some money, make some sales. If you have questions, then just email me. It was a pleasure sharing that with a community that I love so much. And obviously with my bestie James, I'm always happy to help. So, hope you enjoyed it, and email me if you have any questions.